What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Defiant Brandon YouTube channel, the place where we don't try to pretend like the world's on fire, like the world's not on fire, and we start looking at who is holding the matches. Today, we're peeling back the layers on a couple of different topics. Three different stories that really prove one thing, that this system is on the verge of collapse, and that is primarily due to certain people who are running the system who want exactly that. The first story we're going to talk about is Spirit Airlines. Spirit Airlines has officially collapsed, okay? Leaving thousands of people stranded all over the United States and leaving 17,000 people out of a job. Then we're going to head over to Chicago, where the teachers union, the mayor, and all of the Democrat representatives aren't just failing the children of Chicago, but they're literally using them as little pawns in their democratic socialist chess game. They literally allow kids who are already behind, who are already struggling, to miss school so they can be trotted out to protest against Trump during yesterday's Mayday celebration. I thought Mayday was about a labor movement. Why in the world are you attacking the president on Mayday? And why are you using children who have never held a job, the majority of whom could not even tell you what Mayday was even about, to go and perform political theater in the name of the Democratic Socialists of America? And finally, last but not least, we're going to save the best for last. We have President Donald J. Trump doing what he does best, absolutely roasting and toasting Ilhan Omar in yesterday's, at his event in Florida yesterday. I watched the clips. It was absolutely hilarious. And this is why people love Trump, because he's so much like an everyday person. He if you hit him, he's gonna hit you back. If you try to roast him, he's gonna roast you back. And we know we live in a world where, full of people who think that they could dish it out, but they shouldn't be expected to take it when it's time for you to return the favor. Okay, so let's get into first, let me check my microphone now. I feel like I hear a little something. I'm not sure, but I'm just making sure. Give me a 1 if you could hear me okay, because I only want to give you the best when it comes to this content game. So we have to talk about. Oh shoot! What are we talking? Hold on, I wrote like a little list of everything, so I wouldn't lose track of it. Okay, so we're gonna get into a video here about Spirit Airlines. But before we get into that, I want to before I get into my, I got to speak my piece on this. I want to let you guys know what we're doing here on the Defiant Brandon channel. This channel is a bit different from the other channels you encounter because you have a lot more control here than other channels might give you. Okay, so first and foremost, if I do not talk about the topics that you want to hear about, there's something you can do about that. I'm putting the ball in your court with simply a $10 contribution via PayPal, Cash App, or Super Chat. You can get me to discuss. You can hear discussed any topic of your choosing at the end of the show. So what we do here is at the end of the show, and we're going to make sure the show's not too long. If you have a topic that you wanted to hear my opinion on, drop $10 in the Super Chat, PayPal, or Cash App, pinned to the top of the chat. and I will play a video about the topic, and I will give my honest, true opinion on it, and then you can see what I think. Any topic. It doesn't have to be super popular or anything like that. And then next, if you would like to contribute, but you do not have the super chat feature available down in the right-hand corner of the screen, then you can use PayPal or Cash App. The links are pinned at the top of the chat. Okay? And if you are watching us in portrait mode, vertical mode, straight up and down, beautiful thing, and I'm glad to have you here. But if you would like it to be more aesthetic for you on your television, or you want to turn your phone sideways, we are also streaming in landscape or horizontal, side to side mode. And you just go out of this particular stream and just go over, and you'll see it'll look like two videos, two of the same video, and click the other one and it'll take you to horizontal mode. And here's my pet fly that always, for some reason, starts bugging me when I go live. I don't know. Sometimes I think I'm dead and the flies are flying around me. This is really hell. Maybe that's what it is, but who knows? But yeah, so that's pretty much it there. So we're all good. Cash for clicks. Cash for clicks. Yeah, cash for clicks. What's wrong with cash for clicks, my guy? We're living in inflationary times. All right, guys. So let's get into this first one, man. There's a problem that we have in America. We have a very serious issue here. We have politicians who control regulatory boards that prevent privately owned businesses from doing what's in their best business interest. Then when those businesses go out of business because they are not able to operate based on the laws and rules of capitalism, then those politicians who caused the problem turn around and try to point the finger and blame somebody else. Look, I've said it 1,000 times on this channel. Cheap is expensive. Spirit Airlines, your mama's favorite airline, your ghetto relative's favorite way to get to you, you know, they get them a $99 flight and they on your doorstep, just shut down its entire fleet. And now you've got thousands of people sitting in terminals all over America looking like victims. But that's not the only thing. You have almost 17,000 employees who are out of a job. But let's talk about my perspective, which I hope matches your perspective, or at the very least, we can meet somewhere in the middle. Why are we even surprised? You paid $40 for a ticket for like 10 years. You paid $99 to fly from California to Chicago, and then $2 more to get to Atlanta. You bought a $40 ticket from a company that hasn't seen a profit since the VCR was popular. The president wanted to actually throw this company $500 million to get this, save the company. But the people in Congress who want capitalism to rule the day and rule our economy, true capitalism, not socialism, said no. Why? Because you don't reward bad business practices and failure with hard-earned taxpayer dollars. So with that, I agree with the members of Congress. Do not bail these companies out. But there's a little bit more to this, and I'm going to get to that in a second. But if you're a grown man or a grown woman and you're stranded because you let your entire schedule, right, be dictated on a failing budget airline carrier, you got to check your own math. We have to stop looking for bailouts and start operating based on excellence. If a company does well, reward them with your business. If a company sucks, stop trying to feed off the dying carcass like a damn vulture or a hyena. If the business cannot fly, pun intended, let it die. That is the very definition of the free market. No guaranteed outcomes, no bailouts, no favors. The same way, if you lost your job and can't pay your rent, guess what? Guess what? You're going to get evicted, my friend, unless Biden does a national rent freeze and allow you to live rent free while landlords suffer and pay the cost for actually trusting you enough to give you an apartment. But I can't totally blame Spirit. And I believe this is where I find a little bit of where I can give Trump a little bit of grace and find a little bit of forgiveness in my heart for the old bastard. Spirit Airlines did not get to this point on its own. It didn't fall off the cliff by itself. Its fall was actually, I would say, kind of manufactured by the Democrats within the federal government. Because a couple years back, Spirit Airlines tried to merge with JetBlue to save their airline. And the Democrat regulators in Washington blocked the merger. My thing is this. If I own a company and I want to join with another company to save my company and keep the jobs and help my employees, stay in a job, I should be able to do that. There should be no regulatory board to come and say, well, we don't want to create a monopoly over the airline industry. Well, if JetBlue and Spirit Airlines merge, you still got Alaska Airlines, Hawaiian Airlines, Delta Airlines, Frontier Airlines, Southwest Airlines. Keep going, right? American Airlines, Allegiant. What other ones? You got Allegiant Airlines. You got Bianca Airlines. You got what is it called? Belarus Airline, right? You got all these different airlines that still exist. And United. I didn't even think about United, right? So why on earth would the Democrats, including Joe Biden, block a merger between Spirit Airlines and JetBlue? And their excuse for that was, well, we don't want them to create a monopoly over the airline industry. So 2 out of 25 merging all of a sudden creates a monopoly. And this is the point I'm trying to help everybody understand. These super invasive regulatory policies, the Democrat Party in their war on business, private business, is absolutely destroying America. And when I look at the situation with Spirit Airlines, I have to say that this is another way that the Democrat Party screws over the very black people who vote for them. Because let's be real. My folks love a cheap ticket. Now, all folks love a cheap ticket, but don't nobody love a cheap Spirit Airline ticket as much as we do. Because my kinfolk from Chicago was coming out this hoe on a $99 flight round trip coming to Cali to hang with their cousin and heading back with a smile on their face. Black Americans, some of whom may not have the means to afford a $500 flight, $1,000 flight, were getting all over America via Spirit Air. So why would the Democrat Party, who claims to be the representatives of black America, why would they do something that prevented black folks from flying? That's what I'm trying to understand. Then on top of that, Spirit Airlines is one of the airlines that hires a large number of black Americans, right? They're now out of a job. So if you ask me, if I have to ask you, why are you still supporting Democrats when every time you turn around, they're doing things that hurt you? Republicans tried to save Spirit Airlines. Trump tried to keep us in the air, right? I don't really catch Spirit, but Trump tried to keep, us with that mobility. You mean to tell me I could get across the country for $99? Cool. I got a funeral or a family reunion or a wedding. I'm there, right? He tried to keep us with that with those options open. But the Democrats did everything they could to shut that down. And I want to show you that this is something that is literally, it's 3 years in the making, because this was all shut down by Joe Biden in 2023. This is not new. This is where this was the beginning of the end for Spirit Air.
There was a proposed merger between JetBlue and Spirit. And Joe Biden and Pete Buttigieg, along with the Biden DOJ, decided that they did not want that merger to take place.
Well, you don't say.
The Biden administration wants to block JetBlue Airways from buying Spirit Airlines. This morning, the Justice Department filed a lawsuit to stop the merger, saying the deal would reduce competition and drive up airfares.
Well, that worked out.
You know the thing he's lost.
Okay, so 3 years ago, they said that they blocked the merger because it would reduce competition and drive up airfare. But if now that Spirit has gone out of business totally, do you think that's going to lower the price of airline tickets? Or is that going to raise the price of airline tickets? Because now United, Southwest, and the rest of them, they're like in Allegiant, they're literally like, we got you by the balls now. Frontier, they going to get you. Because they're like, you have one less option when it comes to how you're going to fly. So tell me, how does reducing your options create a more favorable environment for the consumer? That's the only question that you have to ask yourself. And the reality is, it doesn't. It doesn't. These people just made a bunch of decisions based on, really, they don't even tell you why they make the decisions. They just throw some bull crap out there. They know you're not paying attention. Then 3-4 years down the line, you're suffering the consequences. But here's the thing. When the company goes out of business, guess who they're going to blame? Oh, it's Trump's war in Iran. Bro, the war in Iran been going on for 2 months. Ain't no other airline went out of business. Spirit been on the downturn for 3 to 5 years. So all of a sudden it's Trump's fault? That's stupid. But they know they can get away with that because people want to blame him so bad. Oh, my wife left me. Oh, blame Trump. My dog died. Blame Trump. My goldfish died. Blame Trump. My car need fixing. Blame. This is not the way to rule. And more importantly, it's not the way to be ruled.
My great honor to introduce the President of the United States, President Joe Biden.
Thank you, Secretary Buttigieg.
What was that? Come again?
Thank you, Secretary Buttigieg.
Nice.
Please sit down. As we approach Memorial Day this weekend, and Memorial Day weekend, I'm rushing it.
Well, I wouldn't say that.
And that's good. That's a piece that gives you peace of mind. That's progress. Compensate you with meals, hotels, taxis, ride shares, or rebooking fees.
He's learning English from television.
As you may recall, I call for an end to junk fees. That is those hidden surcharges that you'd see at hotels, concerts, and credit card bills that you didn't know about before you got the ticket. I continue to call on Congress to pass the Junk-Free Prevention Act.
Malfunctioning?
The airline industry is a key part of our economy. The airline industry is a key part of our economy.
Right. So Biden got rid of junk fees and managed to get rid of Spirit Air at the same time. This is ignorant. This is just dumb. Spirit Air was going downhill. That's why they tried to merge with JetBlue. They wanted to salvage their company, keep their employees employed by merging. The Democrats blocked that. Now, all of a sudden, 2 months of Iran, all of a sudden, oh man, they're going out of business. They can't operate. Listen, if that's the case, why didn't United go out of business? Why didn't Frontier go out of business? Why didn't Allegiant go out of business? Why didn't Alaskan Airlines go out of business? They were already on the way down. Spirit was already on the way out. And to say, oh, they went out of business because the last 2 months, that's being ignorant. That's being purely ignorant. And that's being exactly the type of voter and consumer that the Democrat Party wants. We can rob them blind, because when we rob them or when we cause the businesses that serve them to go out of business, they'll blame somebody else. It's like you saying, I'm going to vote for Democrats to increase because of affordability, when Democrats had inflation at 14%. Joe Biden blew up your inflation to 14%, and every Democrat in Washington was like, he's doing a great job. He's totally fine. He's totally mentally competent to be president. They take your emotion and your hatred and they manipulate it against you. So now we've lost an airline. Those of us who only could afford to fly Spirit, they've lost a resource. And the Democrats are at fault, but they know you will continue trying to point the finger at Trump. And let's be real, Trump tried to help Spirit out. For one reason or another, it didn't work. But they're like, oh, well, he tried to give them taxpayer money. No, he wanted to give them a loan. A loan. Same thing with when we helped out Argentina. Oh, he's giving out Argentina taxpayer money. No, he got private businesses to give them a loan. And those businesses are now seeing major profits off of the loans that were given.
This morning, Spirit Airlines announced it's going out of business after 34 years. All flights have been canceled, and now thousands of employees are suddenly out of work. Last week, the Trump administration proposed a $500 million taxpayer bailout that reportedly would have given the government up to a 90% stake in the company.
Okay, so he says the Trump administration proposed giving them a $500 million bailout, right? But yes, clearly right here in the article that they have up here, it clearly says that this was a $500 million loan that could have given the government up to a 90% stake in the Florida-based airline. But talks with bondholders for a government bailout this week failed to yield a deal. But it was a loan. It was going to get paid back, just like we gave a loan to the auto industry in 2008, and then they paid all that money back. This is not something that's uncommon. Obama did that. Everybody celebrated. Trump's doing it. Now everybody has a problem with it. See, only difference is, right? The only difference is Republicans didn't create the situation that led to the banks collapsing in 2008. Democrats did create the situation that led to this airline collapsing just today, this morning. They literally blocked the merger between Spirit Airlines and JetBlue that would have saved Spirit Air.
Yesterday, President Trump said his administration had made its final proposal. Ultimately, no deal could be reached. With us now, MS Now senior reporter Josh Einiger. Josh, thank you very much for being here. So, Spirit Airlines is out of business after 34 years. What's next for passengers, but also for the employees?
Well, it's a great question, Jonathan. Thousands of employees are now out of work, tens of thousands of passengers who have tickets booked in the future. You know, the industry has come out saying it's going to protect both groups. Employees are going to have the opportunity to interview on a preferential basis at other carriers. The union representing flight attendants told me yesterday that they'd been told that their paychecks, this current payroll run, is going to continue even in liquidation. So they will supposedly be paid in their next paycheck. In terms of passengers, they're going to be getting refunds according to Spirit. And then airlines have said, the major airlines have said they're going to protect pricing for people if they can show that they had a Spirit ticket. But obviously, Jonathan, this is going to invariably lead to higher fares, less competition, and also less pressure to keep fares low. That was the Spirit effect that was pretty well documented. Wherever Spirit competed, fares dropped.
Josh, can you talk about briefly the impact of jet fuel prices on the demise of Spirit Airlines?
So the blame game has started overnight, Jonathan. I mean, the Trump administration very, very quickly came out blasting their predecessors for blocking a merger between JetBlue and Spirit that set the table. And there's obviously some validity to that on a nonpartisan basis that led down this path. But this is the graph that really...
Listen, that's exactly what caused it. Spirit Airlines hasn't made a profit in almost 6 years. So all of a sudden, them going out of business, that's Trump's fault. But I'm asking you, where are the other airlines that are going out of business? If Trump's war caused Spirit Air to go out of business, why aren't any other airlines going out of business? Spirit Air filed for bankruptcy 2 times under the Biden administration. Nobody said anything. But all of a sudden, oh man, fuel prices went up, so they're out of business. That's Trump's fault. No, this was a long time coming. And it's going to keep happening the more you guys vote Democrat. The Democrats don't know how to govern. They just know how to destroy things and then try to point the finger at other people.
That merger to go through, which ultimately resulted in what we're experiencing right now.
That passengers have choices, that they have access to low fares, that they have access to competition.
And socialist Elizabeth Warren said at the time, preventing a merger between JetBlue and Spirit, which would have kept us from being here today, said, I've warned for months a JetBlue-Spirit merger would have led to fewer flights, higher fares. The irony is that that really kind of socialist viewpoint got us one less airline and fewer jobs.
So in March of 2024, while Biden was still president, Pete Buttigieg was talking, when you just saw him, I call him Pete Booty Juice. Pete Booty Juice was talking in 2023, a year before she said this. He was talking about, oh, we can't let them merge because we got to keep competition. Like I said before, if we got like 20, domestic airlines, how is 2 of them coming together to save jobs and, keep the service available? How is that killing competition? And Elizabeth Warren said right here, I've warned for months that a JetBlue Spirit Airlines merger would have led to fewer flights and higher fares. She adds people here. These justices were in the U.S. Department of Transportation were right to stand up for consumers and fight against runaway airline consolidation. This is a Biden win for flyers. Well, just 1 year, 2 years later, that's a win. They lost. The Democrats screwed you over, cost you an airline because they were saying it was one. Why is the government telling businesses that they can't merge when there's plenty of competition in that market?
Well, they should have let them merge. That's clear with hindsight. Secretary Duffy argued against having the federal government bail them out. Commerce Secretary Lutnick wanted to bail them out. I'm glad the president listened to Duffy. We got no the federal government's got no business trying to run an airline. We can't even deliver the mail when the stuff has an address right there on the front. That's free enterprise. I have a lot of friends in small businesses that have borrowed money and tried new ideas, and the government.
And that's what it all boils down to. You have to let the people who started the business, you have to let them run the business. Think about that. You work hard, you make the investment, you take the risk to start a business. Then some senator from Nantucket gets to just come in and start making decisions about what your company can and can't do. This is socialism at its core. And guess what? They'll say, well, we want a government-run and funded airline so everybody will be able to fly equally. That's what they want. So they'll purposely block companies from merging, because the more companies that are created, the more countries that have, a very strong performance, that puts them one step further away from being able to implement, the socialist utopia that they're trying to create. The Democrats are the enemy of free enterprise and successful business because they want the government to control everything. And as long as you have successful private enterprise, that is the number one argument against giving the government control over these different industries.
And they didn't work, and the government didn't bail them out. So I'm not a big fan of these bailouts. But I think in hindsight, clearly, President Biden should have allowed them to merge. That probably would have solved most of the problems.
Yeah, having a 10%
between JetBlue and Spirit. And Joe Biden and Pete Buttigieg, along with the Biden DOJ, decided that they did not want that merger to take place. And at the time, the Biden and Buttigieg DOJ bragged and said, as they canceled the option for this merger, that this was a victory for U.S. travelers who deserve lower prices and better choices. Now, many at the time said this was a disaster. This merger should have been allowed. And this today would indicate this is not better for travelers. This is not better for pricing. This is not better for competition. Actually, it's worse. We had an airline go down because the markets were trying to allow two airlines to merge, make them stronger, and offer more competition for the American consumer. Also, Elizabeth Warren at the time cheered the blocking of the merger, saying that this was a Biden win for flyers. So again, I think it's important that we always look with a keen eye when airlines want to merge.
Yeah, and one thing about my folks, black folks, we love to bring up history, right? We won't let go of slavery, right? But the minute when you try to bring up the history to prove a point, like what happened with Spirit Airlines wasn't something that was the issue wasn't created in 2 months, the 2 past months. It was something that was, the problem was decisions that were made 3-4 years ago that basically, sealed Spirit Airlines' fate. Shout out to my brother L.A. Thorne the Martian for the $5 holler in the super chat. Spirit and JetBlue Airlines represented 9 to 15% in market share. Merging the two wouldn't result in a monopoly. Elizabeth Warren is responsible. 100%. 100%. But she'll hide her hand like she had nothing to do with what happened. And ignorant black folks and ignorant white folks and ignorant Hispanic folks sit up and be like, oh, Spirit went out of business because Trump's a racist. Because that's all we got. Because that's not we, but that's all they got. That's all they got. Racist. Okay. Anything else? Anything other than everything, the whole universe revolves around who's a racist and who's not a racist. That's what we would like people to believe. That's honestly what we would like people to believe, man. But, I was doing some research, and ultimately when you research, what was the reason for Spirit Airlines collapse? The first reason was failed merger with JetBlue. A significant turning point for Spirit Airlines was the blocking of a $3.8 billion merger with JetBlue. Federal regulators and courts stopped the deal on antitrust grounds, arguing it would eliminate a key low-cost competitor and harm budget-conscious travelers. This left Spirit without a clear path for long-term financial stability. So this will limit their options. Well, what are their options now? What are the options now? The next reason is failed government bailout negotiations. Spirit was reportedly seeking a federal bailout or rescue deal from the Trump administration. When these negotiations collapsed, specifically failing to secure a $500 million package, the airline lacked the cash reserves necessary to continue daily operations. Persistent debt and financial losses. The airline had been struggling under a massive debt load and had not turned a profit since before the pandemic. These financial pressures were compounded by rising operational costs and intense competition from larger carriers that began offering basic economy fares to compete directly with Spirit's low-cost model. So they're already struggling, and boom, they get hit with COVID, the C-19, which we all know about that. We all know who perpetrated that, right? Who locked people down and you can't travel. Right, so they get hit with that. They got clotheslined. And like most businesses, they took significant losses. The next was engine maintenance issues. Spirit's fleet was hit hard by technical problems with Pratt & Whitney geared turbofan GTF engines. This led to the grounding of dozens of aircraft for inspections and repairs, significantly reducing the airline's capacity and revenue potential while increasing maintenance expenses. The last, economic pressures and fuel costs. Like many in the industry, Spirit faced soaring fuel prices and inflationary pressures on labor for an ultra low-cost carrier that operates on razor-thin margins. These rising costs became impossible to offset without raising ticket prices to a point that alienated their core customer base. So this is the funny thing. You know their core customer base is Democrats, right? But then their that's what happens when you have people in your government who are like communists, right? They try to manipulate the people who benefit from a service against the people who offer the service. Understand that. They turn them against each other because in a socialist or communist system, the government wants to take over control of that service, and they need to make you think that the government controlling the service would be better than the private enterprise that is the private entity that is controlling the service. So you got people who only can afford to fly with Spirit Airlines voting for someone like Joe Biden or Elizabeth Warren, who basically declared a war on Spirit Airlines and refused to let them do the things that they needed to do to survive as a budget-friendly airline. That is socialism. That is communism. Let's destroy them so then we can move in, either let the government take control of it, or we go in and invest with our rich buddies and they start another airline where we're on the ground floor of its creation and we get filthy rich. Just if you really just are a thinking person, you could just see the huge conflict of interest here. No way should that bailout have ever been blocked. The government, the Department of Transportation, should have stayed out of it totally, and they should have let these businesses do what they had to do to survive. That is free market capitalism. And if you try to interrupt it, mess with it, guess what? You're going to lose in the end. You're going to lose in the end. But now that I got that off my chest, let's talk about what else is raising my blood pressure. So, Chicago students, they're behind, right? Only 25% of students in Chicago actually read at their appropriate grade level. Let's start there. Only 25% of Chicago students read at their appropriate grade level. 25%. That means 75% don't. That means 75% of these kids do not read at their appropriate grade level. But even though that is the case, even though these children are actually being failed by the teachers and administrators who are in charge of their education, right? Guess what? Those teachers and students still never hesitated, not even once, to convince those kids to walk out of class, right? To convince those kids to walk out of class so that they could be a part of Chicago's Mayday parade or celebration. And the crazy thing is, Mayday is a celebration of labor achievements in America. Why do a bunch of students who ain't never had a job, why do they need to miss class to be a part of a Mayday celebration? And most of these kids can't even tell you what Mayday is. But all they really need to know is, well, on Mayday, we're going to use you as a political pawn to help us fight against Trump. I don't understand why any community would support these damn Democrats, man. They don't care about you. They don't care about your kids. The same children whose schools they were shutting down so that they could turn them into homeless shelters for illegal, criminal, alien migrants. The same Democrats who were like, screw these kids. We got to spend all this extra money on illegal immigrants so we don't have money for these kids to keep their music program and their theater program, you know, and their home economics program, right? We don't have money for that, but we found billions to give to illegal aliens. These same politicians using your kids as political pawns so that they could take shots at Donald Trump.
Well, good morning. This is one of many locations across the city that will be holding Mayday events. It will all end with a big rally and a march to Daley Plaza.
War is not over. Glory. Oh, it'll be
Organizers of this year's Mayday are hoping even more people show up to march through the streets of downtown. Some of the people marching will be Chicago teachers and students. The teachers union wanted CPS to cancel classes, and so teachers and students could attend events that center around the theme Workers Over Billionaires. In the end, the teachers union and CPS came to a compromise. Schools will be in session, but students and teachers have the option to participate. Buses will be provided for those who want to go to Mayday events, which will focus on topics like voting and workers' rights, expanding democracy, not corporate power. Today's events will also have a strong anti-Trump message. Some CPS parents have voiced their concerns.
This is wrong, irresponsible, and we believe it is illegal. Our children deserve to be taught how to think, not what to think.
We are already seeing kids all over the district that are not meeting proficiency standards. Taking another day from instruction for them is not beneficial for the kids.
My union, the Chicago Teachers Union, will be teaching our students that story, that our power is in our solidarity, especially when it is leveraged for the humanity of people, the liberation of workers, and the expansion of opportunity.
Yes, when it is leveraged for humanity, that is a very dubious word. And what that really means is it's being leveraged on behalf of illegal immigrants. So your kid, who these teachers have failed educationally, wants to then use your kid as a little pawn to run out in the street and march and fight and defend, quote unquote, the labor movement, which is really a cover up for them defending illegal immigrants, who they say have to come over here to do what? They have to do our labor in the jobs that we, quote unquote, don't want. So basically, they're using your kids to help fight for and defend the very population that will replace them in the next 10 to 20 years. Your kid, when they grow up, become 18, 20 years old, 25 years old, they won't be able to find a job because of the illegal immigrants they fought to bring into the country. That's what's going on. And the teachers don't care. They don't care as long as they keep getting raises. They couldn't care less because they're looking at the immigrant as like, well, they're not a threat to me for the next 20 years because they don't barely know how to read or speak English. And our students are still majority English. And what's stupid about the teachers is, well, the more we let immigrant kids in here, the more you guys are going to be required to be bilingual. So the ones who don't want to learn no other language, guess what? They're going to be phased out. You're just shooting yourself in the foot. You're cutting off your nose to spite your face. But let me get into, we're going to get back to that video. But first, we need to get into these numbers because I'm going to just read these numbers and then you guys can tell me whether or not you think these kids could stand to miss a day of school. Now, me as a parent, you know, my kid's a 4.0. She's straight A's, right? She an AP this, AP that, whatever, right? She didn't walk out of class on no damn Mayday. And if the teachers would have told her, well, you need to walk out of class on Mayday, she would have been like, hell to the no. I need to get my education because that's what you're getting paid for. You're not getting paid to make me, to use me as a pawn in your political struggle against Donald Trump. You're here to teach me not radicalize me, not indoctrinate me. You're here to teach me according to the curriculum that has been established for proficiency so that I can go on to the next level. See, the smart kids wasn't at Mayday getting used. They only brought the dummies because the dummies are looking for any reason to miss class. So yeah, I'd rather go to the park and be all up, whatabouts and what else. Yeah, I'd rather be that's probably what they do anyway. Go ditch school to go smoke weed in the park. And the fact that the teachers would promote this just so that they could try to score some political points, it's absolutely disgusting if you ask me, especially when you look at these test scores. Now, if these kids had 98% proficiency, hell, even if they had 80% proficiency, I say, get the kids a day off. Let them go have a little fun, right? Let them go out there and act a fool, right? I'm cool. I'm a very lenient person in that way. With my own kids and any kids that are in my, under my tutelage or under my care, I'm very understanding and lenient, right? I have a heart for children and young people. These kids can't afford to miss school. Here we go. Chicago Public Schools students have shown recent improvements in reading proficiency, with elementary schools returning to or surpassing pre-pandemic levels. However, while elementary growth is positive, high school performance continues to lag behind 2019 benchmarks. Why? Because high school is the age at which they can be indoctrinated. See, you can't justify this for a bunch of elementary kids. But do you think it's any coincidence that at the age where they can be politically swayed one way or another, the test scores and the proficiency collapses while the test scores and proficiency at the other ages is improving? Because in high school, they're not worried about these kids learning, math or reading comprehension. They're worried about turning these kids into future Democrats, right? It is important to note that the Illinois State Board of Education lowered the cut scores for proficiency in August 2025, which has significantly increased the percentage of students labeled as proficient compared to previous metrics. Now, so what that tells you is they basically rigged the grading system per se, right? They took away more scores that were really bad, right? They basically made it to where they didn't count scores that were really horrible. They only counted the scores that were decent or pretty good. So they lowered it. So it makes it look like more kids are proficient. It's like when your teacher told you, oh, we're going to grade this on a curve. Well, if the highest grade in the class is a C would become an A, and a D would become a B, and an F would become a C. See, that's what they do. And they're constantly doing that in minority communities. But then want to say, let's use, then they wonder when they do affirmative action and send them to Harvard, they're not able to compete. Well, you've been grading everything on a damn curve for 12 years. Now they're in Harvard, Yale, Brown, Caltech, with kids who have been being held accountable for their grades and their lack of performance, and now they can't keep up. That's like a dude, that's like that's like letting a 25-year-old man play on a high school team. Then when he go to the NFL, he can't compete. Nah, because he's now competing against people who are equal to him. There's no more, the measurement haven't, or the scales have not been like weighted in his favor per se. So let's keep going with this. Following the 2025 adjustment of proficiency benchmarks, because they adjusted it, official reports showed a sharp rise in the number of students meeting standards. But what's hilarious about this is that even with the sharp rise, even with them fudging the numbers, look at these scores. Elementary, third to eighth grade. Now these is babies, right? In reading, only 43% of students met or exceeded grade level standards. These elementary kids in middle school. In math, only 27% reached proficiency. In the third grade, what are you learning? Multiplication and long division? And they could only get 27% of third through eighth graders to reach proficiency in math. Just pathetic. High school, 11th grade ACT. In reading, only 40% were considered proficient. Now remember, this is after they fudged the numbers to artificially inflate the score. I ain't in no same boat. My kid is my kid is a 4.0 student. Like, please stop. No. My kid has a parent that actually cares about them being successful. And ain't gonna let them get indoctrinated to where they at school not focusing on what they're supposed to be focused on, which is school. In math, 11th grade to ACT, only 25% met the standard. And this is after the numbers have been fudged to make it look like more people are proficient. So if they fudge the numbers to get to 25% in math proficiency, that means it probably was more like 10% of kids were actually proficient. 2024 performance trends under old standards prior to the standard change. This is the data from 2003 to 2004, so before they fudge the numbers, right? Elementary gains, reading proficiency rose 30.5%, a 5-point increase from 2023, and slightly higher than the 28% pre-pandemic rate from 2019. Math improved marginally to 18.3%, but remained nearly 6 points below pre-pandemic levels. High school struggles. 11th grade reading proficiency on the SAT was 22%. Guys, this is in a major city with millions of people. You know what that means? Competition. Math proficiency among 11th graders was only 22%, remaining below the 25.9% recorded in 2019. Math proficiency sat at 18.6%. On the 2024 NAEP Nations Report Card, Chicago's 8th grade average reading score was 255, which was 2 points lower than the national average. So we struggling all over. But a large part of this is due to the fact that our teachers are not focused on teaching students anymore. They're focused on they're focused into dragging students into the political argument on behalf of their union. The teachers union support Democrats. So for me, a person like me, the decision is very simple. You're failing my kids and you want me to vote Democrat. That means I'm not voting Democrat. You're failing my kids and then trying to tell me who I should vote for. Oh yeah, I'm failing your kids because of Donald Trump. Yeah, doesn't make sense.
The mayor, who was also a former CTU organizer, has been very supportive of getting teachers and students to Mayday events. He is going to be at the Mayday event here that is scheduled to start in about an hour. We are live at Rainbow Push. I'm Eric Rung, WGN News.
So what's hilarious about this, right? What's hilarious about this is you got Mayor Brandon Johnson. He wants the kids out there. He wants the kids out there. Right? No, somebody said you got all that information from Google. Bro, I've been looking at these numbers for years. Ever since I had a kid in elementary school. These numbers, if you are a parent with kids and you don't know the national averages in reading and math proficiency, you're failing your children. you're failing your children. I'm gonna tell you straight up. If you're a parent of kids and you're sending your kids to a bad school, you're failing your children because you don't have to do that anymore. You don't have to do that at all anymore. It's two choices. Either you want your kids to be successful or you don't want your kids to be successful. But here's my thing. If your kid can't even read, how is your kid going to make a real decision about who to vote for? Or are they just going to be told what to do and have to trust the people who are telling them because they can't even read? They got nothing. At least let your kids learn how to read. So when somebody tell them something, they can go do research, to determine if whether or not what they're being told is true. And I know they can actually read words like word recognition because they're on these damn phones all day. But when you look at the way some of them spell, it's great. Look, man, I swear I looked at my cousin's phone. Look, I'm writing what he wrote. Bro, I just typed up what I saw this dude phone one time. Right here. What y'all doing? I'm on my way to the house. Bro was writing like a slave. I said, bro, do you know how to read? He was like, yeah. I said, well, why are you writing like that? I don't know. And that's exactly where they want your kids. It's not that they even want them just to not know anything. They want them so mentally lazy that they'll just go along with whatever they're told. Oh yeah, hate Trump because he's bad and he's orange. Okay. Not because I agree with you, but because I'm too mentally lazy to even think about what you say. I don't care enough to think. Nah, he was writing just like that, like a straight up slave.
And happening today, get this, schools are closed across the country and workers are calling out for Mayday rallies as protesters call to tax the rich, abolish ICE, and more. Can you believe this? They're closing down schools so they can go out and protest. In Madison, Wisconsin, public schools are closed today, with 70% of the teachers' unions saying that they are participating in May Day protests. Our next guest says that Madison schools have crossed the line. Wisconsin mom Scarlett Johnson joins us now. Scarlett, thank you so much. What is your reaction?
I'm in shock, although maybe I shouldn't be considering the history of the Madison Metropolitan School District, but they are turning schools into political staging grounds, and this is where they've crossed the line. They are not just indoctrinating the kids in the classroom. They are encouraging actively for students to leave the classroom and go march in the streets with teachers, with administrators. It's just shocking to me the level that they're willing to take this to, their hatred for President Trump. And make no mistake about it, this entire rally, this May Day, Friday, May 1st, is all about, this is an anti-capitalist, anti-Trump movement, and they're using our kids as political pawns.
You know, Scarlett, I grew up in the South. If this had happened in South Carolina, residents, parents would have been up in arms. They never would have stood for this. They want their kids in school. They want the teachers teaching them math and science and not being out on the streets, skipping class to go protest and to be political. What's the reaction from the residents there?
The reaction from the residents is, I think, a lot of shock. It doesn't matter your political affiliation. You don't want your kids skipping out of school to go protest in the streets. And what's happening is that the teachers' unions, the Madison Teachers Union, made it impossible for parents to say no because they forced the closure of every single school in that school district. When teachers' unions submitted this petition where they said, we're going to call in sick unless you just shut down the school for this day. So instead of kids preparing for AP testing and they're...
And it's always the teachers, right? Oh, we want to miss school. I mean, they do stuff like, oh, we have a conference day or a what? They just have all these bullshit made up days where they get to miss work. Every school district across America, just random days where your kid's not in school, but they're still getting paid, right? And that's why I think, and you know, now the teachers are pushing for the schools get paid based on attendance. That's why the school is so hard up over your kid, hard up for your kid to be in class, right? And they want to take you to jail if your kid don't show up to school. But now the teachers unions are saying, well, we shouldn't get paid based on attendance. You know, the school should get money based on attendance. They're saying the school should get money based on enrollment. They want to move it to the point where the kid don't even got to show up and they're still going to get paid. See, they're just dude, mind you, these are the same teachers who showed you that they don't give a damn about your kid when they wanted to keep your kid out of school longer for COVID. Even though we know there was really COVID had like no impact on kids, right? But the teachers still wanted to keep your kids out of school after having them out of school for like almost 2 years. And after they knew the negative effects of not being in school, what the negative effects of not being in school were, they didn't care. I remember being in Africa, right? I'm in Kenya, right? I'm chilling. I'm noticing I'm running into a lot of black Americans. Like, why am I running into so many black Americans? Females especially, because, school teachers are mostly females. So I'm running into all these black American females. I'm in restaurants and, us, we loud as hell, right? Damn, okay, they black Americans. Okay, they from Texas. Where y'all from? Oh, we from Texas. Where y'all from? We from Louisiana. We from Chicago. Yeah, we from Cali. I'm just like, why are all these what y'all do for a living? Oh, we teachers, right? And I'm thinking in my mind, because this is during COVID, I'm like, why are all these teachers? Then I just asked one lady, like, what's the deal? They're like, oh yeah, we doing they doing the over the internet, right? They're doing the remote learning, right? So what the teachers was doing was they were going on vacation. The teachers were in other countries, right? There were teachers who canceled the lease on their apartments and stuff, moved to Africa, Thailand, Philippines for the 2 years of COVID, and was out there living like kings for pennies on the dollar because they didn't have to show up to work every day. One of the teacher chicks told me, she said, yeah, I just keep my kids in school for 2 hours and I give them work to do and I'm good for the rest of the day. They were over in Africa working for 2 hours, 2 to 3 hours in the middle of the night, going to sleep, waking up and partying all damn day to the next night. And they were able to call in sick, use a vacation, all that the same way. So I'm saying that to say this. Our teachers in America, they have morphed. They've mutated. They've mutated from being people who really cared about your kids, had a passion for education. They've turned into a bunch of losers who are looking for any way to do as little work as possible while still collecting a nice fat paycheck. That's what the teachers are now. Why do you think when the kid, when you see the video with the kids fighting in the school and the teachers just standing around there, they're not doing nothing? You know why the teachers aren't doing anything? You think it's because they don't want to get sued. That ain't why. The teachers aren't doing anything because hey, this is wasting hours off the day. I could go home early now. I could say this is too traumatic. My daughter said somebody was fighting at her school. They knocked the teacher down. She was like, Dad, this lady peed on herself just so she could go home. I said, well, maybe she couldn't control her bladder. She said, Dad, she literally pissed on herself after she got up off the ground. I'm like, she said she just wanted to go. I said, that's a damn shame. You can't trust them no more. They got your kids in the park. Kid can't even read the street signs, but they got them in the park on a celebration of labor movement, the celebration of the labor movement. They got them in there talking about fascism and all this other stuff. What the hell does labor movement have to do with fascism? The kids can't even explain to you what fascism means. But they holding up signs that say no to fascism. Like, this is the part that kills me. Your kids can't even read and understand the signs. But they got them out there carrying the signs. Come on, fam. But guess what? This is a channel where I want people to learn. So you guys, before you leave this channel, you will learn what Mayday actually means.
For millions of workers around the world, the 1st of May is their day. In the late 19th century, American labor unions were fed up. Fed up with being overworked, in dangerous conditions, and with little pay. So in 1884, the Federation of Organized Trades and Labor Unions met in Chicago and had one major demand: an 8-hour workday. And on May 1st, 1886, over 300,000 American workers went on strike. 3 days later, thousands of strikers met in Haymarket Square, where a riot broke out between cops and workers. A bomb was thrown into the crowd, killing several people. It was called the Haymarket Massacre. And today, May 1st is known as International Workers' Day. While every country's workers have a different history behind May Day, they all commemorate those who have and continue to give their lives for workers' justice.
I bet 90% of the people watching this didn't even know that's where Mayday came from. I bet 90% of the people watching this didn't even know. Because Mayday is not a holiday that a lot of people pay attention to. These teachers are looking for any reason to get out of work. And they are now manipulating your children to help them do that. That is it. That is all. They are manipulating your children so they don't got to show up to work.
Their ACTs and SATs and the end of the school year. Instead of educating kids, they're giving kids toolkits, signs, and markers and saying, hey, let's go march in the streets against Trump. They're even having kids hold signs that say teachers should be paid more money. I mean, they're using kids as pawns, and residents are outraged and they're upset. They shut down daycares.
Scarlett, if you look at the report card in Wisconsin, it's not good. These kids need to be in class. The teachers need to be in class. Grade 4, only 42% are proficient in math. Only 37% are proficient in 31% are proficient in reading. And then look at grade 8 down at the bottom of the screen. Only 37% in math and 31% in reading. Those numbers are not good.
These numbers are terrible. And every year, the Wisconsin Department of Instruction lowers the threshold. They lower the standards. And so they're even worse than what you see right there when you get apples to apples comparisons.
Now, if you go to your job and you don't perform your job, I remember when I worked in the grocery industry and I was a manager, we would get a performance evaluation every 3 months, every quarter, 3 to 4 months, right? It was out of 5, and I think everyone I ever had was like 4.8, right? 4.8, 4.9. Once I might have got a 4.7 or 6, right? If you had 3 performance evaluations under 3 out of 5, under 3, you were fired. You were terminated. You're gone. They didn't just lower the standards so you could pass. They didn't lower the freaking hurdle so you could jump over it easier. But this is what we're accepting of the people who teach our kids. They're dumbing them down because what do we know? One thing we know about, there's a book written. I forgot who wrote it. But the book is called Capitalism and Slavery, right? I read that book a long time ago. I found that book under my grandfather's bed. I was looking for his gun. I found that too. But I found the book Capitalism and Slavery. And he probably put it under there and hid it from me because he didn't want me buying into this freaking communist garbage. Okay, it's written by Eric Williams, right? And it basically talks about how, like, in order to have capitalism, right, you need slaves, right? And I get what he means by that, because it's like stems from like the slave trade, right? You live on the plantation, massa got slaves working, massa get the product that they produce, then sell it, and he call it capitalism. But if you really think about slavery was more socialist than capitalist. If you really, like, socialism needs slavery, not capitalism. Because capitalism does best when the workers get paid and they're happy with what they do. They feel like they're getting a fair wage. Socialism is what slavery was. Slavery had nothing to do with capitalism, really. Because think about slavery. The slave had all his needs met by the massa. Massa clothed him. He gave him somewhere to live. He gave him food to eat. He fed his kids. He didn't get no pay, though. He had to go out and work and bust his ass all day in return for the basic necessities of life, right? Isn't that exactly what a socialist government proposes? You're going to work. You're not going to get paid. And what little we may give you, we're going to take most of it from you. We're going to make sure you have food. We're going to give you bread lines and soup lines, right? And we'll have a nice little communist outfit that everybody gets to wear. That's slavery, guys. That's slavery because you have no choice in it. What happens in a socialist society if you just say, F it, I don't want to work? They're going to make you work as long as you're healthy. Now, if you're injured, they might throw you in some dirty-ass, rundown, roach-infested hospital and tell you, oh, this is the highest standard of care available. But let's be real. Socialism is really slavery, guys. Somebody going to tell you going to work, but you ain't going to keep what you earn. You going to get out to the government, and we're going to distribute it to other people who didn't work for it. That's like you the slave. And you got people every day screaming, we need socialism. You ever notice the broke, lazy motherfuckers the only one saying that? Now, you got some people who work who say stupid stuff like that, but most of those people they're not educated people. And I'm not talking about college. These people don't read books or anything like that. The laziest of society want socialism because they want the government to take from someone who worked harder than them and give it to them. I tell a lot of people, your own family members will string you up in the name of socialism because they rather have the government steal the money from you and give it to them rather than having to go to you themselves and ask for it. That's who you're dealing with right here. These are the people you're dealing with. You understand? So don't ever get it twisted. These people are crazy. They hide behind respectable American movements like Mayday, right, and holidays. And they use those days to try to sow the seed of anti-American propaganda. If Mayday was a big deal, why didn't those workers just say, hey, just give us socialism? Because most of those workers ran away from socialism. Most of the workers involved, on the Haymarket Massacre and all that, they ran from socialist countries to come to America to be able to participate in capitalism. Understand that. They left those places. Their countries were already doing the stuff that we're trying to do. You think this is the first time America has ever dealt with socialism? We literally used to exile socialists. And guess who used to tell us to do it? The immigrants who have fled socialist countries. They're like, no, don't ever do that. Don't ever do that. Pay teachers more. Oh, I wish I had a captive audience of students to go walk up to my job and stand out in front and say, pay Brandon more. It's just so damn disgusting. These people have no shame. They have no morals, man. They have no morals. They'll do anything to get out of work. That's why they talking about socialism. I don't want to work but I still want to live and eat. But they want more money though. Shouldn't they be saying give us less money and distribute the money to somebody else who needs it more? That's what they say they want, right? This is why I tell you the left is nothing but a bunch of fragmented movements that are trying to come together based on their hatred of Donald Trump and of any hardworking, clear-thinking American. It's not a true coalition. Now we're gonna get to our last. This is the funny one. Oh man, tell me why Trump, man. Trump is such a gangster, bro. Tell me why this dude straight up roasted the hell out of Ilhan Omar. Do y'all know who Minnesota Congresswoman Ilhan Omar is? Trump was cooking her boots in his speech from yesterday. Bro was like, hey, you know what's crazy? I don't even trip off of Trump talking trash to people because as much trash as these folks can talk to bro got every right to defend himself. They come at you, you go at them, man. That's the American way. He's a New Yorker. People forget that, man.
But I think
people forget that bro is a New Yorker. He gonna give it as good as he get it. You know what I'm saying? And they get mad. They talk, oh, he's this, he's a pedo, oh, he's this, he's Hitler. And then when bro start cooking, he telling the truth about them. Listen to what he said about Ilhan.
But I would imagine they're looking at her. I have nothing to do with it. I would imagine. Of course I have nothing to do. I have nothing, but I believe she married her brother, which is totally illegal. Although it's a lovely couple, actually, but it's a little bit on the illegal side. Darling, I love you very much. Good night, brother. Let's go to bed. Good night. Isn't she despicable? I can't stand watching.
Trump's unhinged 3-minute meltdown over the Somali congresswoman has now gone viral online. Trump unleashes a scathing rant against Ilhan Omar, repeating controversial claims about her marriage.
There's nothing unhinged about it. It was funny as hell. They get to talk about him lying too, right? But if he talk back about them, it's unhinged. We don't play those games on this side.
Somalia as filthy, disgusting, and overwhelmed by crime.
It is filthy, and it is disgusting, and it is overwhelmed by crime, just like India. I'll tell an Indian to their damn face that India is filthy. There's a whole channel called Why Spade where all the dude do is talk about how dirty and disgusting India and all these countries is, and the people from these countries are in the comments agreeing with him. See, this is what I hate about the left. You can never tell the truth about anything because they're going to pretend like, do you think this cracker on this channel gives a damn about what somebody said about Somalia? No, he doesn't. But if he could use it to weaponize it against Trump, guess what? He'll do it. That's stupid. That's dumb. Stop trying to virtue signal. Please stop trying to weaponize your virtue signaling. No one believes you. All it shows us is that we can't trust you because we can't have an honest conversation with you.
In a scathing attack. Trump delivers a disturbing and unusually detailed review of Somalia, describing a place where people are, in his words, shooting each other.
To further stop Medicare and Medicaid from being looted by criminals and thugs, we've launched a war on fraud. You've been watching it in the papers. We're all over Minnesota, California, all over the place. They're taking down hundreds and hundreds and even thousands of people a week and a day. It's led by great Vice President J.D. Vance. He's doing a great job. I said, J.D., I want that job. I want to do it as president. They said, you better, let's do a little delegation, please. But J.D.'s done a great job. Thousands and thousands of people it's a fraud. I mean, look at the wonderful country. It's a beautiful country. You should try it sometime. Somalia. It's a beautiful place. It's got no government. It's got no military. It's got no anything. It's got one thing that's really strong, crime. It's got a lot of crime. They have no police. All they do is run around shooting each other. It's filthy dirty, disgusting dirty. It's a horrible place. They come here, and Ilhan Omar, you ever hear of her? She heads it. And think of it. They have nothing but crime, poverty, pollution. Everything is horrible over there. Nothing good. They say it's the worst country anywhere in the world, and we got some beauties out there, but it's the worst. And then she comes here from Somalia.
A new generation of politicians, including the mayor of Mogadishu, are risking their lives to try to restore law and order.
Political leaders are the top target.
The emergency services don't have the funding to respond to every call. This often comes with horrific consequences. Despite intervention from the West, the residents of Mogadishu are struggling more than ever in this city of chaos, ravaged by 30 years of conflict. The scars of war are visible on every wall of the city center. The old town is in ruins. Public services are barely functioning, and the economy is on the brink of collapse. The 2.5 million inhabitants of Mogadishu are living from hand to mouth, working in small shops or on inner-city livestock farming.
So this guy is saying everything Trump said, but it's only a problem because Trump's saying it. Ilhan Omar came from that dustbin. Now she's in America trying to tell us how to run America.
Then she comes here from Somalia, and she tells us how to run the United States of America. She says, the Constitution gives me certain rights, and I demand that I be given these rights. Get the hell out, what a phony. And then she married a brother to come in. I don't know, you're not. But I would imagine they're looking at her. I have nothing to do with it. I would imagine. Of course I have nothing to do. I have nothing, but I believe she married her brother, which is totally illegal. Although it's a lovely couple, actually, but it's a little bit on the illegal side. Darling, I love you very much. Good night, brother. Let's go to bed. Good night. Isn't she despicable? I can't stand watching her. I can't stand. Did you see last month, she accidentally checked the wrong box. It said she was worth $38 million. And law enforcement came after her for that. And then all of a sudden, she was worth less than $80,000. And she said it was accounting. It was an accounting error. That was not a very good accountant, was it? Huh? No, their whole life is based on fraud and a scam. The whole thing is a scam, and we ought to get those people the hell out of our country.
100%. 120,000%. Bro, she got roasted by an old man that's almost 80. The president of the United States cooked her. And that's why they hate Trump. Because listen, bro, I'm going to say something that Tucker Carlson said during the Trump rally at Times Square. These are nothing but a bunch of unremarkable people, right? These are nothing but a bunch of unremarkable people who hate anyone who is truly talented or good at what they do. And I want to show y'all something. There's a connection that I made, bro. There's a connection that I made, right, with Ilhan Omar and this other illiterate. And you could say, oh, you can't single out Somalis. And look, if you could single out Tamales, you could single out Somalis. I'll tell you that right now. I'll tell you what. But listen, I made a connection. I'm like Alicia Keys right now. I feel such a connection between this retarded chick and this other retarded chick. I want y'all to listen to Ilhan Omar, right? Let's talk and bear with me. Okay, I want y'all to listen to this chick, right? Hold on. I want you guys. Hold on. Okay, I got it, guys. Watch this. I want you guys to listen to Ilhan Omar, right? And then I want you guys to listen to this retarded Somalian girl. And I want y'all to tell me if they do not sound exactly the same when they're lying. So let's listen to this chick first.
So I'm Somali. I'm proud to be Somali. To me, being Somali isn't just eating bananas with rice. It's a lot. It's like it's an interesting thing. It's very hard to describe what it means to be Somali and what it means to be American, but it's like a cultural fusion. It's kind of like the bananas and rice. People don't really see, like, it's people don't think, oh, you can eat bananas with rice.
So we listened to her and we knew she was lying because the bananas and rice. So then you're kind of like, is this a retardation issue? Like an epidemic? Is this something that has a characteristic of the community? I'm asking here, right? And then I hear Ilhan Omar on the Breakfast Club, right? And I realize Somalis have a tail when they're lying, right? Ali, my brother from another mother. Yo, Mambo VP. Anyway, that's my bro in Kenya. But Somalis have a tail when they're lying. And she was lying. And now they sound like twin sisters. Not very quick or sharp thinkers, I'm thinking, coming out of that area. You can tell she's lying and she's trying to fast talk. But there's one thing about, you can't be a fast talker when your brain is moving slow. That's just kind of what we're dealing with there. Like, and that's what they're trying to do. I'm telling you, when I tell you this girl sound dead like Ilhan Omar, I was like, this reminds me of something.
But that's what it's like to be Somali and American. It's like that combination of banana and rice, but you're gonna get what I mean.
Wait. So we got a nice little F.
Literally talking the same, just lying. So we know that they have a tail. What up, P Sizzle? You in the building. We know the Somalis have a tail, but let me know what you guys think. P Sizzle, what's your opinion on this?
I personally think a lot of the frauds in Minnesota come back to Somali-led healthcare facilities, nursing facilities, nonprofits. I'm 100% sure it's not just Somalis. Like, there's white people that do it, black people that do it, Chinese people, Indian, Mexican, whatever race it is. Like, the fraud in general is just like a human problem. But especially as Trump is investigating these frauds, as he's sending people, the FBI folks, to investigate the state, it just looks bad on the Somali community more than anything else. And the lack of accountability just looks bad as well. Like, if I was like an Indian rep and the Indian community was caught stealing X amount of dollars. Like, it's supposed to be your responsibility to call your community out as a representative. You can't just hide behind your position or your husband or whatever it is Ilhan Omar is doing. So that's how I feel. But at the same time, I will say, like, Republicans are also scammers. Like, Republicans also engaged in a lot of the PPP loan stuff during COVID. And now a lot of them aren't even investigating the loans. So I hope the same.
You said there are people going to jail under Trump administration for PPP loans.
Yeah, but there's people like Brett Favre, Mississippi. Like, there's.
What are you talking about, bro? It was on trial.
Yeah, but he's not. They're not gonna do anything to him just because
How
he's
do
an
you
NFL
know?
player. And he should have already been there like years ago.
Man, you just eradicated your whole argument.
No, like I'm.
And the
being
thing
honest
about
with you, like,
you made it Republican. Republicans hold each other accountable, dude. We don't just say, "Oh no, it's okay because he did it because he's Republican." That's exactly what Somalis are doing. Just like Black Americans defending people who are robbing them blind, defending people who are extorting the government.
I understand, but like they're not investigating red states to the degree that they're investigating California and Minnesota.
There's no way you can prove that.
They started out all the task forces and investigations in California and Minnesota.
You don't have, listen, you don't, one, it's all about whistleblowers. Two, you don't have the level of fraud in red states that you have in blue states, bro.
That's probably true, honestly.
And that's because red states don't have as many government funded programs.
Yeah.
No, in red states it's not as easy to say, "Oh, I'm going to make a bullshit daycare and then go work in cahoots with the state government to funnel millions into that daycare that I give back through kickbacks to politicians."
That is one thing I will agree with you. Like, I think red states, if they were to do something like this, they'll be caught within the first 3 to 5 years of this. Like, for some reason in the blue states, like, this type of behavior goes on for decades.
Because in the blue states, there are very few whistleblowers in blue states, because in blue states they are operating based on fear-based programming where, oh, if you get rid of me, a Republican might get in. So people will literally not say anything because they don't want to be the guy who sunk the ship and then the Republicans took over. We're dealing with that right now in California. We're literally fighting. California might elect a corrupt Democrat governor just to keep Republicans out of the governor's seat. So we right now we got to do Xavier Becerra. I think his name's Javier Becerra or whatever. He's a Hispanic. He's corrupt as hell. Totally incompetent. A Gavin Newsom crony who gave Gavin Newsom an A grade on his management of the homelessness crisis and the California economy. Do you know he's like leading in the Democrat polling right now? And we know that if we elect him, it's just going to be Gavin Newsom 2.0. But do you think these Mexicans and these ignorant Negroes out here are thinking about that? Do you think they're thinking, damn, we might have to leave the state if this guy gets elected? No. It's just anything to keep Republicans from getting the seat. So it's like, that's why you got less fraud in red states. Republicans, we snitch on each other. Even in the Congress, we don't get along on everything. We got Republicans going against Republicans over the funding of DHS. The Safety Act and the the SAVE Act, right? We disagree on things. Democrats, uniform down the line. Oh, something happened, bro. But yeah, I would say the party that is the healthiest right now is the Republican Party. I would say people should be Republicans or independents, which is fine. But it's like Democrats, they have a serious crisis which within their party that they can't deal. They don't know. It's like on The Matrix. Remember the movie The Matrix when Neo went to the machine boss or God or whatever and was like, you have a virus and you can't get rid of it. And the machine gets mad. Oh, we don't need you. And then he's like, bro, you do need me because this virus is going to collapse everything if you don't let me go in and stop it, right? So it's like that's the Democrat Party. They have a cancer, but the first step to solving a problem is admitting you have a problem. And they don't want to admit it. They've lost their party. You got like a feedback. They've lost their party to radical leftists.
Hey, Brandon, I'm back.
Yeah. So would you agree that the Democrats have lost their party to radical leftists?
Yes. At the same time, I think they have also like realized that partially. Like I think that's why you see people like
And happening today.
my state's governor, Roy Cooper. He's running for Congress right now, and they're saying he might run for the presidency. Like they're saying people like Gavin Newsom might run for the presidency in the future.
Gavin Newsom?
Yeah, and it's like I'm not saying that he's not a radical leftist. I'm just saying like he's too retarded to know what is a radical policy versus what isn't a radical policy.
The thing about Gavin Newsom is I don't think he's a dumb dude. He's a very smart guy, but he is beholden to the radical leftists. Right. And because like they're trying to do a billionaire tax in California, right? And Gavin Newsom is like, I'm vetoing it the minute it hits my desk, right? Because he knows if they pass a billionaire tax in California, he knows that he will never, he'll never be president. Somebody said it's low IQ when you reference a movie. It's low IQ to think that referencing something that the majority of people most likely have seen, that's low IQ. Like the references are to give frame of reference. That's something I'm sure 90% of the audience has seen and remembers. What's the point of referencing something nobody ever? It's like that one story about the horse and the frog. How is that a reference at all? I got to tell the whole fucking story to get you to understand the point. No, you don't tell me what's low IQ. I want to play this really quick because Gavin Newsom was just confronted by Bill Maher.
Political violence out of the way first because we have to talk about it. I'm just going to vomit my take on it and then you can argue. I would just like to say, if you're one of these people, and there's many in this country who watched that and was disappointed the president wasn't killed. See, they're laughing at that. You're not a good person or a smart person, but definitely not a good person. I was reading this in your paper, interview with Governor Pritzker of Illinois, and they asked him, like, well, what does the next president have to be? And he said, good, decent, and kind, which who can disagree with that? And certainly Trump has often not been good, decent, or kind. You're the one who kind of imitates his style with the trolling. With you're suing Fox now, I understand. You're suing, that's
well,
right
we're
out
going
of the
into discovery. Fox better look to settle right now or apologize for defamation.
Okay, but that sounds exactly like what he does. Suing media?
Different point. Well, then don't defame, don't lie. And, Fox is a propaganda
but that does sound
network.
like him.
Boy. What they want, a slick talker.
My segment, literally and figuratively, as governor over the last 7 years. But look, you talk about California, we're the envy of the world. Since I've been governor, no other developed nation is out.
Yeah, so why are so many people leaving, right? If you're the envy of the world, why are so many people leaving the so-called envy of the world?
For California's high-speed rail project, and it is not cheap. A new business plan says the full Los Angeles to San Francisco route could top $125 billion. Despite that, project leaders say they're not hitting the brakes. Capitol correspondent Eitan Wallace has reaction from Sacramento.
California's high-speed rail project. It's set to one day connect Los Angeles and San Francisco and eventually San Diego and Sacramento. In this newly proposed business plan released this year, project leaders now estimate the LA to San Francisco segment of the project will cost about $126 billion, with service starting around 2040. The goal is to get the Bakersfield to Merced section of the project up and running earlier, no later than 2033. All of it part of what officials are calling their optimized plan, one that reduces the scope of the initial proposal. In the newest optimized plan, some segments will share tracks with systems like Metrolink, and the number number of tunnels on the project will, at least for now, be scaled back. Officials believe those changes will help the project save money. Without those changes, they say the full Los Angeles to San Francisco plan could have cost as much as $231 billion. At Wednesday's High-Speed Rail Authority board meeting, project CEO Ian Chowdhury expressed optimism, saying track laying between Bakersfield and Merced is expected to begin by the end of the year. He also praised a funding plan approved by the Democratic supermajority legislature and Governor Gavin Newsom to provide $1 billion per year for the project through 2045.
It gives us stable footing to move forward on the projects that we have currently underway.
Republican State Senator Tony Strickland says the project is unaffordable, echoing criticism from President Donald Trump, who last year pulled $4 billion in federal funding for the project.
We can't continue to spend billions on billions.
Newsom on the failures of
the stats from California.
Good.
What?
Fourth largest economy, let's go.
Well, are they going to say good about gas prices? Are they going to say good about how high the rents are?
Yeah.
So many people live. I mean, there's a whole litany. I mean, the train, Gavin. Okay, the train. You got to get rid of the train.
The train.
I say this as a friend. You got to let that train go. You got to let the train go. It's up to $231 billion.
No, it's not. That's just nonsense. It's not. We're doing a $119 million segment. We got it back on track. It goes back 3 administrations. I inherited a mess. We put it back on track. All the environmental work is behind us. We're actually laying the track. All the legal litigation, all the land issues are all behind us. We're actually making this project work. And so that's a fact. Now, on the issue of California.
Right. You've been saying this for decades.
But do you see how the people clap like trained seals? They don't know if any of what he's saying is true, but they're clapping like, yeah. You're like, people don't realize when you're listening to politicians talk, you're not cheering for your favorite sports team. They're talking about what they've done or what they're gonna do. And he said a bunch of stuff, and the reality is Gavin is lying. Gavin has been in office for 8 years. Understand that. He's been saying the same thing since 2018. Right? He's lying. He's lying. He's going to continue to lie because he can't tell you where the money has gone. So what he'll say is, well, we're making all this progress. Oh, we got the permits and the clearance and the Okay, so you got all that after you spent up all the money? So what you spent up all the money on? If you didn't even have permits and clearance yet. It takes a very simple mind to... It takes only a little bit of brain power to see that this guy's lying. Am I wrong, P. Sizzle?
He's as bad as they come. And especially, like, it's sad people don't realize how much of a business-friendly environment California was back in the day. And I would say back in the day would mean up until the late 90s, early 2000s. Like, California was seen as like the world's epicenter for tech. All the vegetables that can't be grown on the East Coast or has the climate of other countries. California's great at that in terms of agriculture.
They gutted all that.
How successful California has been in the entertainment space with Paramount, Warner Brothers, Netflix. Like all those studios are gone now because of AI and lack of funding.
And people just relocating.
Overall, even the general consensus is one of like what Elon Musk said as he removed Tesla from California, that it's not good as a business environment. It's not good from a social welfare angle. Whether you're rich or poor, like you're better off at this point, like living in a red state with red state policies, with less population density, less welfare policies, more jobs available per capita than a state like California would have. And even it's not even just comparing, but like even people on like platforms like No Jumper, like they don't understand how far California fell off under Gavin Newsom's administration. Like people are still delusional, thinking that like that one stat everybody likes to pull out is that California has an X amount of GDP dollars that like supersede like most developed countries. California would be like the 13th or 14th biggest economy on its own. Like people just like fall into the trap of looking at things like that and thinking, wow, our state is really rich. No, in reality, the only people that are rich are like the entertainment industry and Silicon Valley. Everything else, like in California, all other 49 states have to offer. And I just wish Democrat voters and even Republican voters in California that they realize this, and that California's fallen off so hard, so fast that like it's no longer like that mystical adventurer, like Western feel of a state where people that are explorers can like leave the East Coast, go over there, start from scratch, find your own niche, and develop like successful life in California. I just don't see that really being a thing anymore. And the core problem that I can diagnose and suss out is just like the influx of Mexican people down the border
of
from
course.
Mexico up to California. Just that like
You let a
corridor
bunch of
that exists.
you let a bunch of
After
third
you
world
pass
people.
LA, like San Diego, like at the border cities in California, like that's like why, in my opinion, you see all the problems that you do see in California, whether it's like the drug trafficking, whether it's human trafficking, whether it's all the public social welfare policies. Like, and the thing I hate the most about whites and blacks is that they adopt sympathy from Mexican people just because they have 4 or 5 or 6 kids. They came over here in the last 20, 30 years. And it's sad to me that like two separate races that like are foundational to the creation of America as a whole, like there's so much more bigger issues within the white community, within the black community, in my opinion, matters more than just making every single goddamn policy out there about Mexican people just because they have like so much of the population base. And I think that's really where California fucked up. And that's the reason why, like, you go down to states like California or Florida, even Florida being a red state, like, you don't really see, like, the race densities or the population makeups as it was, like, 30 or 40 years ago. And that's really what Trump was trying to get at, too, when he first got into office, like, during his second administration, campaigning, like, saying, hey, the population makeup of our country is foundationally shifted and changed. Like this is something that like is going to be an existential problem if we don't take steps to course correct this. Because I'll be honest with you, like my parents did not move here to America to like be surrounded by like
Can you hear me?
a bunch of Mexican restaurants, Mexican food, like
Can you hear me?
tacos, quesadillas.
I don't think you can hear me.
A lot of like of their folks here and their kids here, like uneducated, undeveloped, underskilled, under-resourced, and in reality, like for every 1 or 2 white or black Americans that you meet nowadays, like you have to deal with 8 to 10 Mexican like descent folks that like aren't really equipped to be successful in the 21st century in this country, and it just gets annoying after a while. And I think that's the issue that like the Republican governor candidates, Democrat governor candidates in California, like until they fix that population problem, we're never gonna get to the bottom of this. And you're gonna see more and more people like Elon Musk move away, take all of his Tesla factories, all of his staff, and go to places like Texas or my home state, North Carolina.
Yeah, I don't think you could hear me.
More of that.
Pieces, can you hear me now?
Even the Hollywood folks are going to take.
Yeah, I don't think you can hear me. Yeah, Pieces, you can't hear me.
Is just gonna
Bro's
be like the trucking
gone.
industry, related industries like the nursing, healthcare crap.
Okay, he can't hear me. But guys, yeah, he's 100% right though. Why if you let people from the third world into your country, that's so that they could assimilate into your culture and elevate themselves. They didn't come into the country so you can gear your entire political agenda towards When you let third world people into this country, it's so that they can assimilate into your society. And then they work hard to build a life within the framework of your society. That you're not letting them in so you can gear your entire economic policy, your entire educational policy towards giving these people an easier time in your country. You come in, you stand at the back of the line, you should have to work twice as hard to get to a place, better than where you were. That's just the way it is. Democrats have literally turned the United States into a welfare state of Mexico. Like, Mexicans now can come here, South American, they can now just come here and free healthcare, free this, free that, free that. Like, that's not helping your country. And I try to explain to people, you're working for this money. Why are you letting your government just give it to someone who hasn't given you anything at all? That's like somebody coming to your house and your wife is like, someone come for a day, and your wife's like, yeah, let's invite them for dinner, and what would you like to eat? Yeah, after like a month, you're looking at this person like, okay, I don't mind you being here, but you got to start contributing. And we ain't making what you want for dinner anymore. We're going to go back to our regularly scheduled programming. And if you don't fall in line with the rules of the house, you got to go, right? It's a difference from being a gracious host and being a damn fool. And that's what Democrats have turned Americans into. We're just idiots. You go to work every day so a bunch of people from South America can get free health care. They wouldn't do it for you. They would not do that for you. You go to work every day so a bunch of people from South America come and get food stamps. Your refrigerator empty, they refrigerator full. Then they got enough food stamps to buy taco meat and shit and then set up a burrito stand on the corner. The Democrat Party has convinced the American people to literally work against themselves. You go to work every day so some Indian guy could get over here on an HB1 visa or H1B visa and take a job from you. And he bring his family so his kids could take up one of your kids' a spot in a school where your kid could be at. And they call that empathy. And we got to be good neighbors and all that shit. Well, if we were only doing it for the people who are our neighbors who live down the street, that would be one thing. The whole world is our neighbor at this point. We're doing this for the entire globe right now. And guess what? It's all based on people people thinking that they're a better person than you because they get taken advantage of more than you. They sell you out so they can feel good about themselves. And I promise you, in 20 years, the same people screaming and going to these protests will be saying the same damn thing I'm saying as they grow up and have to compete in the world. These people, look, they vote, let me tell you, they vote for a party that was the number one party funded by billionaires in the last election. They vote for that party, but then think that party is going to implement billionaire taxes, tax the rich policies. They're not gonna like, there's an old saying, don't bite the hand that feeds you. The socialist movements, they're funded by billionaires. All these protests are funded by an American billionaire who lives in China right now. So billionaires are funding you in quote unquote fighting against billionaires. They're manipulating you. Literally the liberals are the ones who are going to help fascism come into America because they're totally funded by billionaires. And the billionaires have them thinking that what they're doing is stopping billionaires from taking over the country. But in reality, the more you diminish your ability to work for what you want and earn a living in spite of billionaires, right? The more you diminish your ability to do that, the more power they have over you. Because then they say, okay, we'll give you free lights. But if you start tripping, we're going to turn the lights off. We'll give you free food, but if you start tripping, we're going to cut the food off. Y'all, let's reference another movie. Have y'all ever saw the movie Total Recall? The first one with Arnold Schwarzenegger? When the company controlled the oxygen on Mars, and then the minute they wanted to like clear out a certain section for mining or whatever, they was just like, all right, and they cut the oxygen off. Everybody was dying. Tax the rich, tax the rich. They need to pay their fair share. If you depend on the rich to pay all the taxes, don't that mean the rich are now in control of the country? Think about it. If the rich are paying for all the services, right? I want you to be taxed at 70. I want you to be taxed at 90%. Okay, tax me at 90%. That gives me more control than the president. There's only rich, wealthy people only account for 1%. But the more you lean on them, the more you become dependent on what they provide. So why would you want to hold rest the entire economic engine of this country on 1% of billionaires? See, people don't understand that because we've removed critical thinking from schools. Why would I want any 1%? Why would I want a group that represents 1% of the population to have that much leverage over our economy and our public systems? I'm a Trump supporter. I'm not a bigot. So Rondeezy, nobody cares about that, baby. Nobody is buying that anymore. Trump supporters are big. It's like you're telling a joke that that is no longer funny. I used to know a girl in high school. Her name was Monique. We used to call her Monique Freaky. She used to say, I'm a virgin. Ain't nobody touched this. About the third time we caught her in the bathroom with a dude giving top and getting hit, we stopped believing she was a virgin, dog. We knew the jig was up. When we caught her in the abandoned house on a dirty mattress with our friend, we knew she was not the virgin that she said she was. She kept saying it, but we just knew it wasn't true anymore. I'll be real with you. You cannot give any group that represents 1% of your population that much leverage over your public services. None of that. Because they'll say, yeah, tax us. And then they'll weasel right up out of them taxes. And the services will not. Man, the politician, I remember we used to believe the politicians worked for the billionaires. We used to at least know that. Now we're like, let's vote for these politicians and they're going to help us get rid of the billionaire. No, they won't. Only way they're going to get rid of a billionaire is if they're going to become a billionaire in his place. But guys, I got to get out of here. Got to go pick up my baby. Thank y'all so much for watching this. I appreciate everything you do for me and this channel. Till the next time, take care of yourselves. But most importantly, please take care of each other. Peace.